I would like to express my deepest condolences for the passing of the chess grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky. As a chess player myself, I have learned so much from watching Grandmaster Naroditsky's videos. He was not only a talented player, but also an exceptional commentator who brought joy and inspiration to the chess community. Sadly, he passed away just 2 days ago at the age of 29.
Today we're talking about the game 1 of the 73rd Oza Title Match from Japan that happened just a few days ago. Ilyama Yuta is playing as black, and Ichiriki Real is playing as white. Those two are currently the top two Japanese male Go players, with Yama I think currently number two, and Ichiriki is currently number one. But of course, their level are super close, and this is going to be a very exciting game. Yama approaches, white attaches, black honey, white extends, and black connects. And Ichiriki is playing very proactive in this game by playing the Keima. This is a move that's asking for more efficiency, but of course leaving a weakness right here. Now, usually black wants a helping stone on the third line for this attach to work, but black sometimes can consider directly attaching if you want to be very aggressive. Now, the variation goes like this: white blocks, black cuts, white connects, and black drag the stone out. White honeys, black honeys, and white now extends. Here it's very important for black to honey into the corner first. This is a very common mistake if you ignore this, because if you crawl, then white can get this very important move, breaking your shape. When you play the tiger's mouth, white can keep extending, and we can see that black is kind of in trouble. Of course, white can Atari here first, right, making sure you don't have an eye, and then we can see that black is in trouble. If you connect, the same thing, I can extend out. Now my corner has no problem. First of all, I'm not sure how black can survive. Even if black manages to survive, he's going to exchange a bunch of second line move against third line moves. That's not going to work. So if you want to fight this out as black, you have to honey into the corner. White now blocks the corner, and black keeps crawling. If white extends, then that would not be very precise, because now black can keep crawling. White extends, black extends, and white plays the jump. Here black can simply connect, forcing white to honey connect to live the corner in a very comfortable way. We can see that black is alive and white is also alive. Now black ends the joseki, or I wouldn't call this a joseki, but black ends the variation with a tiger's mouth. And this is actually locally this is slightly better for black, but of course this is still completely equal position. Here white has a better variation that very few people know. That is for white to actually cut here first. Black Atari, white extends on the first line. Immediately go for the kill. Here black has no choice but to hane on the third line, right? Black really doesn't want to sacrifice the 4 stones, but black doesn't have any choice, right? You have to play here. White hanes, and black plays the 3 space extension, and that's the end of the variation. The result of this is white gained some extra territory by capturing the 4 stones, and black was able to get these 3 stones as compensation. These stones have value because later on there's an Atari that's a very valuable co-threat, and also black has the chance to play the 2 space extension, coordinating with the 2 stones here. The result of this is that this is more or less an equal game moving forward, but of course I can understand a lot of my viewers would think that this is a better position for white, and it's hard to manage for black, and I completely agree with that. If black decides to fight this out, this would become quite interesting. White Atari, black takes, and white connects the cutting point. Now, it looks like black is kind of in trouble, but actually black has a few resilient options. First, black can play the second line peep. This is looking at connecting underneath. If white cuts off, then black can also make use of the ladder breaker. So the fact that black cannot cut is because white can ladder. So we can add a move looking at the cut over here. If white responds to this, then we can extend the stone out, forming a moyo towards the top side. White likely needs to add another move, or else black is going to enclose. So white is going to play a keima. This is a very big move anyway, right? It makes sure that white also has a moyo towards the left. And now black can think about playing a hane into the corner. Now, this variation is not going to work very well because the liberty fight here is very difficult for black. Here, white can simply hane connect. And now black is kind of in trouble. So if black plays the tiger's mouth, then white can simply play the 2-2. And we can see that this is white kills black. And it's actually quite a clean kill. If black keeps resisting, then white can play out this first line Tetsuji, forming a very big eye. When black hanes, white can simply make 2 eyes, and this is white kills black. If black peeps in, then white has a very big eye, and this is big eye kills small eye, so black is also clean dead. So this is the problem, right? Even if black gained a lot of compensation on the outside, the corner died unconditionally, and it's not good for black. Now, of course, at this point, if black goes into the corner, then white can simply block here. When black connects, now white is not in a rush to kill this group. White can simply play the clamp on the second line. If black lives, then white can capture this stone as a compensation that weakens the 4 stones on the outside, and this is a better position for white. But if black decides to fight this out, then we can hane on the first line. Looks like it's difficult for white, but actually this is extremely difficult for black because you have to jump and I can push through. And you can't block me because I can cut. And now we can see black's collapsing. But if you extend a lot, right, like this, for example, then we can see that when white comes back and kills the corner, white has a lot of points. It doesn't look like white has a lot of points, but white has so many points. All these are points, right? All these corners are points. So white has way too much territory to overcompensate for the moyo. In the actual game, Yama decided to complete the joseki by playing a 3-space high extension, and white approaches the corner on the top right. Black plays out exact same joseki, and this time the keima actually makes a lot more sense because it's coordinating with high stone over here, right? This area is more protected because of the stone over here. Next up, we have, so if you play the 3-space extension to complete the joseki, that would be perfectly fine. It's just a little boring. In this game, Ichiriki is really being very creative and try to start a fight against Yama. We can see the proactive play at the very start with this keima, and now this very provocative move, right? Trying to trigger a fight. Now, this move is really looking for a fight because it's very uncommon for professional players to just respond very passively to your moves. Because when black plays like this, white will extend, black connects, and white will simply attach. Now, after these exchanges, white can now extend a little bit further, given that white is a lot stronger over here because of the exchanges. So, this position, I don't necessarily think it's a better position for white. I think it's still equal because you have solidified all black's territory. We can see that black is quite happy here. I mean, for an amateur level player, this might seem very satisfactory because you gain so much territory. And actually, I feel the same. I feel like if I was playing as black, I'll be quite happy with the outcome over here. But of course, Yama, as one of the top professionals, is not happy with passively responding. Here, another choice is for black to jump out. And this is also my first intuition, right? When you play here, obviously you have a weakness. I can cut you off into 2 pieces. But actually, white is going to hop down. That also destroys black's territory. Black has no choice but to prevent the attach, so he can play a keima, that's the best move, and white now plays a 3-space extension, right? Settling the 3 stones first, and then dance with these 2 stones later. So this would still be an equal position moving forward. In the actual game, Yama plays an even more aggressive move. He decided to pincer from the left, and basically this is looking at like jumping out, and this time the jumping out is a lot more serious because it means that white cannot play the 3-space extension anymore. In the actual game, Ichiriki is very aggressive, and you will see that throughout this game he's just been very, very aggressive. A lot of times we'd be thinking about just connecting, but of course this is not a good idea because black can extend. And now we can see that black black is kind of protecting the territory, and white is not really getting much. So Ichiriki decided to hop down and destroy black's territory. Black plays the keima, preventing the attach. And the next move, Ichiriki plays a very creative move. It looks like a weird shape move, but it's actually not easy to punish. If black directly plays the elephant eye, then white can push through and start a fight. If black push, white cuts, then I'm not convinced that this is a better fight for black, right? Because it looks a little bit difficult for black as well. So directly attacking white's weakness is temporarily not working, and therefore black is just very patient and plays somewhere else. White now blocks on the second line. This is a very big move because it's looking at coming into black's territory. Black plays the peep, white connects, and now black hops down. This is really threatening to poke at white's weakness. Now, if I was playing as white, I would probably just play a jump over here. But of course, this is not a good idea because it's just too passive. Now let's look at what Ichiriki played in this game. He played the invasion, and this is a brilliant move in my opinion. If black passively defends, then we can play out the sequence. If the game plays out like this would be black kind of falling into white's trap, because white managed to use this maneuver to fix the cutting point in Sente. And now white can come to this point, expanding his moyo in the center and suppressing black. And this is very uncomfortable for black, because we can see there's some over concentration over here. If black defends with a tiger's mouth, this is also not pleasant, because later on white has push and cut like this, and it's not possible for black to connect back. In the actual game, black goes for a counter attack. White hanes, black posts the stone back, and now white connects. Black attaches, white extends out, and at this point, black can absolutely not allow white to jump down to disconnect the two groups. That would be too dangerous. So after the two exchanges, black now hops back, making sure his groups are connected. White now plays a kosumi in the center. This is aiming at two things. One is playing a keima, enclosing black, and the other one is cutting on the fifth line and claiming the profit. Black defends the cutting point because it looks more serious, and white obviously gets the other move of the miai, that is to enclose black here. It looks like white's shape is really weak here, but actually it isn't, because white later on has a squeeze and wedge, and we can see that these four stones cannot get out. In the actual game, black decides to extend on the second line, and this shows you that Yama is a really strong player. Instead of playing a move on the outside that's really big, which is something that a lot of us would do, black would suffer this hane, and that's the problem. When you bump into me, then I can connect, forcing you to connect here. We can see that black's ice space is drastically reduced, and white was able to get this very big endgame in Sente, so that is not acceptable for black. Now when black extends, not only black has better ice space, a little bit more points, but also it's looking at the monkey jump towards white's corner. So white's corner is drastically reduced. So the difference in transfer is absolutely huge, right? So later on, not only this is a monkey jump, but sometimes black can peep into at the 2-3 to cause problem in the corner. All right, the next move, we have white peeping here, and black obviously doesn't want to connect because the shape is just too heavy, and therefore black blocks on the fourth line. So the cut doesn't immediately work, and therefore white goes for a ladder breaker, attaching here, looking at cutting over here. Black extends, and currently the ladder still doesn't work, therefore white extends. Black plays another very efficient move, that is the keima towards the center, making sure the ladder still doesn't work. Another choice is also just for black to play hane, completely clean up this ladder thing, and then deal with the problem on the outside. This is a very thick move, and it really helps out with the moyo on the left. In the actual game, Yama wanted something more efficient, not only fixing the ladder, but also building on the top. White now obviously goes into the corner. This is not only points, but also roots for the two stones. And now black decides to go for a 3-3 invasion. And at this point, I think this is the highlight of the middle game, and it really shows you how strong Ichiriki is. Normally, we would just respond to this, right? Either we'd be thinking, oh, which direction do I block? Which Sensen Joseki do I choose? But actually, here, white just Tanuki. If there's something more important on the board, then obviously we'll play that more important thing, which is to go for an attack on this moyo. Now, for example, if white blocks, then black will definitely complete the joseki with white, but later on, when black gets the big keima, we can see that not only black gained giant amount of extra potential, but it's also looking at the weaknesses that white has over here. Remember that this elephant eye still kind of exists. So this is an absolutely huge move. And therefore, instead of letting black get it, white takes the initiative to suppress black and put a lot of pressure. And I think this is a very well played move by Ichiriki. I really like this move. Black now pushes on top, and Ichiriki plays the jump. This is very aggressive. So we can see that Ichiriki is such a fighter, because for us, we would be very scared because black already has 4 stones here, and therefore a normal move for us is to either extend or jump. In this case, probably extending is a great move, because the shape move is for black to play the keima and connect back home, and white can now turn on top and keep building the moyo and strengthening the weakness over here. And we would have a fairly comfortable game for white at this point, I think. In the actual game, Ichiriki is really going for aggression. The idea is that white wants to, first of all, destroy the whole thing over here, but this move is also looking at the cutting point that black has. So not only white is trying to invade, but he's following the principle of counterattack. Black now hanes, white hanes, and black extends out. White keeps pushing, and black keeps extending. If black plays the hane, then that would be very risky for black, because white will immediately counterattack by cutting here. And I'm pretty sure Ichiriki has read out this variation, otherwise he would not play this variation at all. When black extends, which is a must-play move to prevent white's wedge atari, white will cut and extend. Black keeps blocking on top, and white just keeps extending. And at this point, black has no choice but to fix the 2 stones by atari and play the keima. Now, this group is safe, but what about the center? The center, white is going to play Kosumi, and this is going to be white kills black. For example, if black plays the Kosumi, then white can keep playing the Kosumi. And there's no way for black to extend all the way to have 5 liberties, because white has 5 liberties. So black has to extend liberties such that he has 5 liberties and go back to kill white. But that's not possible. If black pushes, white hane, black jumps, white can squeeze first, black connects, and now white plays the wedge. And obviously black is not going to have 5 liberties. If black atari, white can squeeze, cut, black takes, and white blocks. And we can see that black only has 3 liberties left. So that's not even close. So Ichiriki's reading is absolutely rock solid, and therefore Yama realizes that, and he had to extend. White pushes, black hanes, and white hanes. For the same reason, black cannot just cut, because this part is too weak. Black had to connect, and the next move, white blocks on the 3rd line. This is super aggressive from Ichiriki. Now, I would say 100% of us would have just connected here and be happy about it, right? We disconnect black here, and we got out. Like, what more can we ask for? If black atari, then black is not really connected. First of all, if I just jump down, then, this is not, like, this group still has to run. If black plays the big knight, then we can attach, right? Hane, then I can cut. And I'll leave you to verify that there's no way that black can get home easily. So connecting here is the correct move to play as well. But Ichiriki blocking here comes with a lot of reading. And you can see that he's definitely like exceptional, a very exceptional Japanese player. Because our impression for Japanese player is that they're really good at endgame, and they play really good shape, and they play very properly, and that's kind of like a impression, or I guess not impression, because in the old times this is how Japanese player play, and this is their very special, it's their characteristic. But Ichiriki is really an exception, and he loves fighting. He reminds me of Miyutin or Lee Seido or Guli or those type of fighters, and this move definitely shows that. Now, if black cuts, right, this is the first thing that will come in mind, and this is the first thing that Ichiriki has to read out. And this turns out to be not working for black, right? If Ichiriki has the guts to play this move, that means this cut doesn't work. And he's correct, because white can hane and connect, forcing black to play the tiger's mouth to fix the cutting point, and now white can simply push and cut. Now at this point, black is in trouble. Black has to get the three stones out, but white can take the vital point away. And this is definitely going to be white kills black in the corner. So black cannot directly cut. And Yama knows that. In the actual game, he turns here, preventing the cutting point. And of course, white comes back to connect in the center. And the fight is still very chaotic. Alright, next up, we have black hane in the center. White has to turn, and black now hanes on the fourth line. White now kicks the corner, trying to get rid of black's territory and also make a life. And black now extends on the second line. And from this move, we can tell that Yama is very passive in this game. Our intuition would be hane, exchange first, and then block here. Because this block is obviously very big. It drastically weakens white's two stones, because now white only has two liberties. And this move has a lot of value towards the outside, and black should definitely have played like this. But in the actual game, Yama just responded to the kick, which makes the kick a favorable exchange for white. And white now turns on the third line. Black extends, white keeps crawling, and black keeps extending. So even if Yama is playing a little slow, with some inaccuracies, this is still a fairly even game, because this wasn't like a fatal mistake. It still serves at, cutting off the group, giving black a little bit more ice space. Now the fierce fight starts at this point. White now turns, and we can see that the dragons are kind of fighting each other. Black hanes, white atari, black connects, white atari, black extends, and white now blocks over here, looking at blocking and enclosing black. Black obviously cannot allow that. White pushes out, black hanes, white turns, and black also turns. And here white has to connect the dragon back. Black hanes, white now blocks in the corner, and black plays out the keima to get this group out. Right? This group is the most important thing for black at this point. The cutting point here is not really fatal. White now kicks, black crawls into white's corner, white blocks, and black now pulls the stone back, making sure that his group is alive. Now this group is theoretically alive, because first of all, if black jumps here, black definitely has an eye on top, and if black plays the squeeze here, then black will also have the opportunity to live here. So black has a lot of ice space, and the group is very safe. At this point, if white just atari, black extends, white atari, and black extends, and white captures. If white plays out like this, of course white is very safe, but what about points? White doesn't have a lot of points, right? Black has a very solid corner over here. Black has some hidden points with this group. Black also has some points over here. But more importantly, when black crawls like this, black also has a very solid corner. So it's difficult for white to compete in points. That's why in the actual game, Ichiriki goes for a very fierce variation by jumping over here, and this fits well with his style. Now, these two stones are very weak, right? So, by the way, this is just a very interesting mid-game fighting tactic, is that when you can atari like this, you shouldn't exchange it, right? Look at what Ichiriki played. Without playing the atari, this gives us the choice to connect here as a sente later, right? That's the brilliant part of not exchanging your atari. Black now plays the tiger's mouth, and white now connects in the center. As we can see, white is using this as the move to connect back. Black now plays the hane. That puts white kind of in a dangerous situation. White now hane, black blocks, and this turns out to be inaccuracy. Here, black should have exchanged a move in the center first, right? So in the actual game, Yama got this order a little wrong by blocking here first because he thought he could exchange this Kosumi against white's block in the center anytime. Now, the reason the blocking here is inaccuracy is because he didn't expect Yama to directly go for the cut. This is just hyper aggressive, and black kind of did not calculate this. So at this point, Yama realizes that, first of all, the ladder doesn't work, right? And second, that the net doesn't work either, right? If you jump here, white can get out in this very aggressive way. Just like this. It's very aggressive. If you Atari once again, then the net doesn't work because again, Atari the whole group, and this is white kills black. So the cut actually works for white. And then Yama realizes that, and now he's like kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to exchange this now. But Ichiriki says, well, that's too late because now I'm going to extend out and claim the profit on top. This is a lot of points if black all die here. Black now pushes at the Tengen, and white spends another move to make sure that the 3 stones that black has are just dead. So at this point, Yama plays another move to kill the center 3 stones. So we can see the trade is that black basically sacrifices 3 stones to get the 3 stones over here. In terms of points, this is definitely a losing deal for black because black's 3 stones are way bigger. It has so many points with it, but white's 3 stones seem pretty dry because you only gain a little bit extra points. But this is not the end of the world for black actually, because black turned his weak group actually into a very big, a very strong center that has influence towards the outside, especially towards the bottom. So now it makes the fight over here a little bit easier for black. So the game is still quite close at this point, but this is definitely kind of in Ichiriki's momentum at this point. So Ichiriki at this point only has to deal with this stone over here. Black now crawls white Hanes, and we can see how aggressive it is. We'd be thinking just like extend, and we'd call it a day, right? Like if black decides to connect the 2 stones back, then we probably play a 3-space extension, and then it's still gonna be a game, and this is gonna go to endgame. But Ichiriki is really looking for a fight. He's really trying to win this game without going into the endgame. White Hanes, and here black cannot back off because if you play the Hane, then white is not going to connect. White actually prepared to bump into black, and this is the annoying part. Even if black wants to dodge a fight, he can't. So for example, if black plays the second line crawl, then white will Atari and play the squeeze here. Now we can see that white is just kind of back home, and this is terrible for black. Black is all suppressed, and this Moyo is just vanishing. So black cannot allow that to happen. But if black decides to drag and fight, white can turn here and threaten the corner. And this is quite uncomfortable for black as well. That's why in the actual game, black decides to go for the most fierce fight. And Ichiriki uses his reading skills and bump into black. This is all very nice to Tsuji's, right? At this point, it looks like white is in trouble. Black has so many helping stones, and there's a cutting situation. Obviously, the fight is not going to go well for white. But actually, Ichiriki just uses his pure reading and played the bump. And this is very well played by white. So at this point, black plays the Hane, white Hanes, and black connects over here. I think here maybe a more resilient move is for black to simply extend like this, threatening to kill white stones. White Atari, black extends, white Atari in the corner, black Atari, white takes, and black blocks on top. So white's group here can easily live, obviously, because there's already a Panuki, but at least black is able to protect the territory over here, and this is still going to be a game. Let's see what happened in the actual game. So in this game, Yama is just playing very soft and slow, I feel, right? In the actual game, he connected here, but obviously this doesn't work for black tactically because white can Atari, and obviously you can't run because there's a double Atari, and like this would be game over. So black stone over here is just dead, and therefore Yama goes for a trade by extending here. So claiming some territory over here. Later on, white has an attach, But more importantly, white gets to Atari here and connect back home in a very decent way. Next up, we have black push and Atari, white connects. And here, so here black obviously can play another move here, making sure his dragon is very comfortable, but black is behind on points, right? After this disaster over here, where white managed to break in way too easily, Yama has to worry about points, and therefore he jumped over here, making sure that he has a lot to build over here. But of course, Ichiriki at this point decides to punish for the Tanuki and trying to kill black. And black turned on the second line, and this turns out to be a blunder by Yama. Here, the correct move for Yama to play is to bump white like this, right? Making sure he gets a sente locally. If white clamps, black in Atari, white connects, black extends, white takes, and black comes back and live, right? At least the dragon is alive. And then he can keep playing later on over here. And this might not be a pleasant game for black, but at least still playable. In the actual game, black turned over here, and this is just a reading mistake, because now white bumps into black, black connects, and now white squeeze over here. And Yama realizes that this is not an I if white plays first, and that's the biggest problem. Black now clamps into the corner, white extends, and black attaches, dissolve forcing move, and at this point, Yama literally has to use this painful Atari to basically get a ko to try to live the dragon, and this is very miserable. White takes, black Atari, and black now blocks on the second line. White throws in, black honeys, white connects, and black connects. Now we can see that there's one eye over here, no problem, but where's the second eye? White takes, black blocks, white throws in, black takes, and now white throws in, and we can see that this is a ko. This is a ko for life right now, right? This is a flower ko for white, pretty much. But this ko, if black loses, the whole dragon just dies. And we can see that this is just a losing game at this point for Yama. So let's see what happens. Black takes back, black takes, white throws in, black takes, white takes back, and black now decided to connect here. Now, the reason black decides to connect here is because locally, if black keeps going for ko threat, for example, this is a ko threat, white has to connect. When you take back, well, there's a lot of ko threats I can do. For example, playing here is a ko threat. If you connect, you only have one eye, then I can break the other eye, and black is still dead. So locally, there's a lot of ko threats for white. And black cannot win this ko just from ko threats alone. And therefore, Yama was just connecting here to see if he can create ko threats over here. But unfortunately, Ichiriki captured both stones, and black has just one eye. Black honeys, white plays the Kosumi to fix the problems in the center. White connects, that's a sente. Black connects, that's a sente. White has connect. And now black plays a fake Suji in the center. Obviously, it doesn't work. And when white blocks, Yama decided to resign. Now, the reason is very simple, is because this whole dragon is just dead. No problem in the center. If black jumps over here, then white will block like this, and black doesn't have an eye. Doesn't matter how black plays, black will not have an eye here. And that is game over, because the whole dragon is just killed. And finally, since we have a little bit more time, I just want to talk about the corner a little bit here, because it looks quite dangerous for white. But actually, there's no fatal problem for white here, right? If black plays the 2-3 jump, then white can Atari first, forcing black to connect, and now the Tsuji is for you to play the jump. Because if you block, that wouldn't be a great move. This allows black to play the tiger's mouth, and therefore there's going to be a ko. If you connect, black can play like this, and then live in the corner, right? And this is going to be black kills white. Now you're actually in trouble as white. So you have to play kind of careful here. And this is a shape that you encounter a lot. The Tsuji to remember is the jump on the first line, preventing the ko. So at this point, if black, this would just kill black, kind of, right? Like if you play like this, then I can just block like this, looking at, breaking through here. So if you connect, I can block, and we can see that white almost has an eye here. So white is gonna be killing black inside. Now, if black plays the crawl, which is also a very severe move, instead of blocking here, white can simply play the 2/2 to leave the corner. So as long as white is alive, then the gain that black's gonna make is not gonna be significant. But obviously at this point, I mean, even if white's corner dies, it doesn't matter because the whole dragon is dead. So there's no point in continuing the game. I'm just showing this for fun. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this game. This is the game 1. I haven't seen any commentary for game 2. I'm not even sure if it's out or not. I've been very busy. But when it's out, I'll definitely take a look, see if it's a high quality game that I should commentate. But there are a lot of other tournaments going on here and there. There's some Chinese tournaments, and there's a game literally between Chojan and Shinjin Saw recently that I saw. That's very interesting, so I might comment on that game as well. But anyway, if you're new here, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a future game commentary. And I'll see you guys in the next one.